first lessons in hobby beekeeping. My name is CharlieHurd, and I'll be leading you through our tour of these beehives today. When I say hobby beekeeping, we're talking about a person that may have 2 or 3 or maybe 5 or 10 hives. And today we're at the CharlieHurd farm west of Mankato, and Hurd has 2 hives here, and he keeps these bees basically for fun and enjoyment. He likes to work on bees and also for a little bit of honey for his family. Now he might produce possibly 200 or 300 pounds from these 2 hives. Well, today we're going to go through the hives from top to bottom, identify some of the parts of the beehive, and also look and see what sort of things the bees are doing. But before I can get started on this, I'm going to have to put on some protective equipment so I'm not going to get stung. So if you'll give me a minute, I'll put on my equipment and we'll get started. Hello again. You'll see I look a little bit different now, and traditional wear for beekeepers is to put on white clothing. Not only reflects the sun, but also tends to keep the bees from stinging you. Also, a piece of equipment that every beekeeper needs is a hive tool. It's a chisel-like tool to break the hives open, because the bees produce quite a bit of propolis that they use to, it's a type of glue that they create to keep their equipment together. Another essential piece of equipment is the bee smoker, and smoke has a calming effect on bees, and it just kind of lets us know that we're there, and they tend to gorge themselves with honey when they smell smoke, and it makes them seem that things are all right. Well, we want them to feel all right because we're going to come in and open up their home now. Now, most beekeepers and myself, I would use these gloves if I were working commercially, because you use them for speed so you don't get stung. But today I'll be working slowly, and so I won't be wearing these gloves. Now every hive has a cover, of course, to protect the bees from rain and weather. And I just give them a little bit of smoke in order to let them know that I'm here. As you can see, the hives are constructed as a number of boxes put together, and so we take them off section by section. Now these upper portions are where the bees put their honey, and we're in July of the year right now, which is a major honey producing time, and so the bees have already put up quite a bit of honey into here. And we'll take a look at one of these frames, and you can see this is the honeycomb, and it's been filled full of. Now here's a frame that's been filled or almost filled full of honey. It's still nectar that the bees have brought in, but in a few more days this will be honey that'll be good to eat. Now as we move farther and farther down into the hive, I'll give them a little more smoke here to calm them down. We move into the part of the hive where the bees are raising their own baby bees, and that'll take us a little bit here. We're still in the honey producing, or rather the honey storing areas of the hive. And this is a very nice colony. It's quite full of bees. Should be very productive. I would expect this hive to produce probably 100 pounds of honey this year, possibly more. And we're going to go way down into the bottom here. Now this is what's known as a frame of brood, and this is where they're raising their baby bees. And if you look carefully here, you can see that these cells are filled with larvae or pupa of bees that are going to soon hatch out. And what happens is the queen will lay eggs in each one of these cells, and then later on the bees will go through a larva stage and finally develop into adult bees and chew their way out of these cells. Here's some that possibly are about ready to come out over here. Now these larger cells are drone brood, and the drone is the male bee, and they're just a little bit larger. Maybe we can find a drone right here. If you can see, it's a little bit larger than your worker bees. There he is right there. Now something else that the bees will store in this lower part of the hive is pollen, and they collect this from flowers, of course. In order to feed their own baby bees, they need pollen and honey, and here's a little bit of honey on the edge for you. And this is another nice frame of what we call brood, and it's full of bees that are about to hatch out. I thought we might be able to find a queen today, but I don't want to spend the time to hunt for her. And an experienced beekeeper takes 3 or 4 minutes to be able to find a queen in a hive. I do maybe want to show you what happens when a bee stings you. And I'll just take one of these bees and have them sting me here. You can see this little white stinger. He's left it in my thumb right here, and it's pulsating away, pushing the venom into my finger right now. And it's important to know about bee stings is that you should get them out as soon as possible. And what you want to do is use a fingernail in order to scrape it off rather than to tweeze it in. Now that hurts a little bit, but as someone who's kept bees for years and years, it's not going to bother you too much. Well, that's about it. I'm just going to put it back together here. You need to put them back basically the way you took them apart. I'll put these frames back in. Now these bees that are piling up in front here are probably bees that have been out collecting honey, and because we're working here on the front, they can't get in. So they're not really angry, they're just trying to figure out where to go. Well, that's about it for our first lessons in beekeeping. Now, some of these supers are starting to fill up with honey, and we call these supers, each one of these boxes. And these upper ones are called honey supers. And for our next lesson, what we'll be doing is finding out how to remove the bees from these supers and taking the honey off and extracting it. So that's it for beekeeping, hobby beekeeping today, and next time we'll be looking at honey extraction.